Welcome back to Sports for Dummies. Today we're previewing the Carlton Football Club for the 2024 season. Let's get into it, Johnny.
Yeah, it was an interesting year we had in 2023. We had the heartbreak of the end of 2022 by losing. We were in the 8 all year, and in the last minute, we lost to the Pies by a point and missed the finals. So there was a lot of expectations. We started poorly. We were 4th last by round 15, and then we went on a hell of a run. We won our first final for, I think it was 12 years, and we made our first prelim since the year 2000. And unfortunately, the heartbreak of the prelim final being 5 goals up at 15 minutes into the first quarter, and then to lose it, sadly, it was real heartbreak for Carlton supporters. But the positives far outweigh the negatives, and excited for an exciting year, I guess.
You guys, I think, surprised a lot of people. Obviously, you came out, you were horrible at the start of the season, and then you turned it around. 13 wins, 9 losses for the season, wasn't it? Something like that?
No, it was more. I think we were 15.
Was it
15 wins?
No. 13, 9 and 1 draw.
13.
Mate, I'm a professional. I know my job, know my craft.
13. Well,
What are we doing here? Anyway.
We finished 15. We finished 15th with 13 wins. Sounds low, doesn't it?
What do you mean?
Just sounds
You finished
low.
5th.
Yeah, exactly.
You said 15th.
No, 5th.
Sorry. Yeah. So you finished. You did very, very well. I know they're your Blues. It would be a hard conversation right now. The recap, you guys, you outperformed where everyone would have thought you were going to end up. And I think to even be, in the top 4 squad.
Well, top
4 team at the end of the you didn't finish top 4, but
I thought a pass mark for us was just to make the 8. And by round 15, I will admit I was one of those supporters who wanted Vossi gone. I thought we were done. Once we lost that game to Essendon, which we never lose to the Bombers, I thought that's it. And there were people burning their memberships. I didn't go that far. And then we went on this incredible run where we didn't lose a game for the rest of the year. And then we had the 2 amazing victories, once against Sydney, the win against Melbourne where Blake Acres stood up and kicked the winning goal in both games. And then, to come so close in that prelim final, it just to fall away was disappointing. But there's a lot to like about us. Like, we've got a really good backline, spearheaded by Wiedering. We've got Marchbank, who's got back into form from a lot of years on the injury list. Sard, McGovern. We've got Zach Williams coming in, which means Doc can play more in the midfield. We've got the midfield, Cripps, Walsh, Akers, who was just absolutely unbelievable.
it's a top tier midfielder.
This was his 3rd club. So he's been St Kilda and Fremantle to kick 2 winning goals.
Yeah.
That was absolutely fantastic. And then you got the forward line. Kerno again winning the Coleman. Mackay's going to be an interesting one. If he can start to hit the scoreboard and get rid of the yips, he'll be good. Then you've got Jack Martin, Motlop with the small forwards. Our ruck's an interesting one with Pitnet, and then you've got DK, who was playing a pinch hit role, sort of played up forward when Mackay got injured in the finals. But we've had some ins and outs too, which has been interesting to see.
Who have you lost? Have you lost anyone that's super important? I know you got some ins. You got Orazio Fantasia, who he came from wasn't he? He was a Bombers.
He was Bombers, then he was Port.
He went to Port, yes, for how long?
It was a year or 2. I think with the thing with Orazio Fantasia is...
Where's he going to play?
He'd be up forward. I would assume he'd be playing forward because he can kick a goal. Worried about his toughness. So that will be interesting to where he slots in. Our outs...
He suits your team, though.
We need another small forward.
Yeah.
We were sort of all over the joint with our, I guess, small forwards. Like Motlop had a few good games, like a couple of breakout games.
You don't have a standout small forward. You've got your Coleman medalist, you've got Mackay, but you don't, Motlop, like you said, has some good games, but there's no consistent small forward who's adding the 2-3 goals every game.
Well, and which was weird because Owies was second on our goal kicking, and we dropped him for the prelim, which I thought was a terrible decision because what you think of him or not, he kicks goals. Like he's a clutch goal kicker. But Motlop's had another pre-season, so hopefully he's improved. You've got Durden, he is injured at the moment, like nipping at the heels. So Orazio Fantasia might add to that. In terms of who we lost, Ed Kerno, so he's been a long servant of Carlton, been there through a lot of the tough times, keeps Charlie happy. Paddy Dow, who I thought was actually finally finding some form after being in and out of his side his whole career. He's gone to the Saints. Zach Fisher, again, in and out of the side. He's gone to North Melbourne. Honey delisted, Lockie O'Brien delisted, Sat Phillips delisted, and Lockie Plowman retired. So there's a few outs there. Like all of them have been in the starting 22 for half a decade. So bit of change, but I think they were the drebs of the list. And
I think you got some youth that are coming in.
Well, I like who we've got. So Matty Carroll, we've rookie drafted. We had his key defender, so we already had him on the list. So we got rid of him, brought him back in. Orazio comes in. Elijah Hollands is Ollie Hollands, who had a fantastic year. And then we had Moa, Monahan, and Watson, who we picked up in the draft. So very exciting to see how that goes.
No, I think you guys have a good squad. In terms of your most important player. Who do you have in the team?
It's an interesting one. So most people will say Curnow or Cripps. Walsh after he had a finals. He got named Player of the Year for the final series.
Cripps has won a Brownlow, didn't he?
Cripps won a Brownlow a couple of years ago,
and he was up there last year.
No, he was below his best, but we're not relying on him at the moment. Who I think's I think there's two important players. I think Mackay, who 3 years ago won a Coleman and was kicking at 60%, he's lost a lot of confidence. And, I mean, the Sydney game in the first final was literally what we need, was what he was. He set up 2 goals, took 2 big marks, but he kicked 2 behinds, and it really hurts his confidence. I'd like to see him do a Joe Danaher who had the same issues.
Yep.
If Mackay can start kicking those goals, even at 50-50, watch his confidence go for the Blue Baggers. So I think if he steps up, we're going to be on. And most important, I think it's Jacob Wiedering. Without him, and this is a concern because he is injured a little. There's some worries about him on the injury front. He's expected to be gone for an extended period with a calf injury. So not definite when he is coming back. But I'm surprised he was an All-Australian last year. He was phenomenal. And the way he went back to basics, he was intercepting marks, going for the mark, not the spoil. I generally reckon he's our most important player. And if he is out for a significant time, that really changed my... Because if Curnow or Mackay's out, we can still play.
Yeah.
If Cripps goes down, we can now cover him with Walsh, Kennedy. We've got the midfield stocks. Wiedering, I think, for us is our most important player.
Yeah, right. I would say, yeah. I mean, for me, I think Cripps for you guys, but I mean, I'm not a Carlton supporter.
Oh, Cripps has been...
I think he's been...
Cripps for the duration for the last 6-7 years has been by far our most important player. It was Cripps or bust.
Yeah.
And half the reason he's had injury issues because I think he's just took on so much and he had no support. I think now we've got that balance where Cripps doesn't have to be the main guy for us to win.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts on old mate Sam Walsh? Because he's been an absolute gun for you guys.
So since he started, so it's an interesting him and the Rosie sort of debate because Sam Walsh's first year was clearly better and he almost won unanimous Rising Star. I thought he actually hit a sort of a plateau where he hit his ceiling. And he'd done an injury. His final, he completely shut me out. He came back fitter than ever. The way he could create separation with his run, his decision making, his courage, and he runs 2 ways. I think he's phenomenal. He could win a Brownlow this year.
Yeah, right.
He could definitely win a Brownlow.
Well, I thought it was Cripps who was up there. It wasn't Walshy. He was up there in the Brownlow. He was top 10 last year. Yeah.
So that was Walsh,
Sorry,
and he got Player of the Year for finals.
Yeah, right.
He was the Player of the Year. I can't remember who the voting was, but he was number 1.
And you said, I guess players to watch, like you said. I think Cripps for sure.
I think
Walshy, like you just said, for a Brownlow.
Mackay, love to see Motlop come back. Doherty's an interesting one because we got Zach Williams coming back from a long injury. So that means Doc in the second half of the year went in the midfield and really showed. I mean, he set up that game-winning goal against Melbourne. We've got a lot to watch. Carlton's an interesting because a lot of pressure is put on Mackay because he's very maligned. He's a scapegoat. Before he got injured against Port, he was leading the contested grabs by far. If he can kick straight, that's a long way for us. A lot of...
I think anyone who was watching, there was a... Mackay's highlights, he literally runs into an open goal and dribbles it straight into the post.
It's had so many of them. Curno's another one who copped a lot of pressure because he's obviously won the Coleman, but he had a pretty average final series.
Yeah.
But that's completely interpreted wrong because most of the time, history shows us that a lot of the time key forwards are easy to be shut down by the opposition side because they know where the ball's going. Carlton, instead of allowing that to happen, actually started to spread the ball more, less reliant on Curnow, which means he didn't get as many opportunities. We won 2 games.
Yeah.
So I thought we did actually well. No fault on Curnow there, and he's going to come back bigger and better. Of course, you'd like him to kick more than 1 goal a game, but I thought he was fine. I did not blame him for the final series at all.
No, without doubt. I think he's a... Oh, he won the Coleman.
He won the Coleman. That's 2 in the 8.
When you're a traditional forward, what's the main thing you need to be doing? Kicking goals. That's literally it. What would you say the strengths for the Carlton Football Club are?
Our forward line is our forward line's definitely our strengths, especially if Mackay can. Our keepers, pretty much our spine. If that can be Curnow, Mackay, Wiedering, Marchbank, like we've got a good spine. I love our midfield now.
Yeah.
Which is really good. We've got some great defenders in terms of skill wise, in terms of Newman, Sard, Doc. We've got some really good users by foot.
Yeah.
And I just love when we move that ball quickly, like we did in the first quarter against Brisbane. We can't be stopped. And our players are big. Like we don't have a skinny team. We've got a big team contested wise.
Yeah.
And I think we're hard to match. And even in 2022, like we were 4th and then we sort of fell off. We dominated the contested footy. And we've got those big boys in the guts to do that. So that's where I'd say our strengths are.
And weaknesses, what do you reckon? What's the only thing lacking?
The weakness is...
What's holding Carlton back from a granny?
I think...
Even though I think that they outperformed where they should have ended up last year.
I think if I had to look at it critically, I think a bit of leg speed. Though we've got those contested players, how quick are we on the outside play? I think especially if Wiedering's down, I think we're probably a key defender. I'm not sure on Marchbank yet. Our ruck stop
what about
is
Tom
interesting.
De Koning?
Tom De Koning was... This is the thing.
He's
he had
a
a
very
really
versatile player.
Very versatile, played well up forward, was good in the ruck. Hopefully this year he just takes ownership.
Yeah.
Question marks on Pitnet. I don't actually dislike Pitnet that much because Richmond showed with Nan Curvis you don't need an absolute star, you just need a workhorse. Yep. But I would say, and then our small forwards, though but we do have the talent there that I think if the players like Jack Martin, Motlop. Jack Martin showed, especially against Sydney, like he kicked 2 goals, took huge marks. If he's on, he's on. Motlop another pre-season. And play always. Just fucking play always. I think that can be a real good strength for us. And then last is our mentality. And that was shown, you could see glimpses of it for the last 2 years, and then it happened against Brisbane. We got ahead of ourselves. We stopped moving the ball quickly, and then we just shut down. And we played this safe, slow ball, kick down the line, and we would just get destroyed on the way back. That's where I would say the Carlton weaknesses are.
I reckon, and one player I actually did miss out of the forward line, Silvani.
He's gone for the year.
Oh, what?
So, I mean,
yes, he did. That was a knee. No. That was, that's a good conversation. But that is a big loss for you guys because he's a player that plays... He's pretty big for one. And how do you match up against when you have 3 talls in your forward?
So Jack Silvani's an and we'll go through the injury list. Jack Silvani's an interesting one because before he got injured, like I always wanted him on the side because for so long we have lacked players. That's why I like Mackay. We have lacked, because we've been so bad, we've lacked players with heart. Jack Silvani always did that. He could play in the ruck, up back line, kick a goal for you. He was playing really well and then he got injured against Port.
Yeah.
Most of our run, though, in finals, he didn't play. So him not being in doesn't hurt us as much. Think more for the morale. And he's good. what's it called, fringe player. So if someone does go down, it's always handy to have him back in the twos or off the bench to contribute, because he can fill so many roles. But yeah, we do have a little bit of an injury, I guess, concern. Sam Doherty's always under injury issues. I mean, the guy
he's one of your best players. How old's he now, though? He's getting on with.
He'd be late 20s. He'd be late 20s. I mean, he survived cancer, knee recos,
guy's a beast.
everything. The guy,
he's a freak.
The guy can literally, in terms of heart and soul, he's the heart and soul player for Carlton, for sure.
He could play through to 35.
Absolutely.
So he's the sort of player that can do it.
And this is why Zach Williams coming back is good, because it means Doc can go in the midfield. Though I love Doc down back because his skills and decision making is second to none.
No, very good. And what do you reckon things to improve on for the club?
I think the things like that, the mental aspect, not retreating when we are in front. So 2022, I think we were up by 50 points 3 or 4 times and we won by less than 2 goals.
Yeah.
And that happened again against Brisbane, where we're good at coming back now. Like, we're never out of a game. But I think just staying level-headed, and I think the thing for Carlton is that level-headed of maturity. And hopefully a year does that. We've now tasted finals. We won 2 crucial games. I've got to give us credit on that we beat Sydney, we beat Melbourne, we weren't supposed to be there, and yeah, we fumbled against Brisbane by being 5 goals up. But I think if we can just have that little bit more mental toughness, and that could all change with Mackay. I generally reckon he's a key. If he can, he just improve by 25%.
Yeah. Oh,
it changes everything.
100%. And well, he needs to now that Silvani's out.
Correct.
That is a big thing. He needs to be able to kick goals and make sure it's happening. Now, what's the fixture got for you guys? What's the first few rounds?
Opening round, we have the Brisbane Lions.
Yep.
Straight away. Then we have, in round 1, we have our traditional game against the Tigers, which is always fun. Then we have North Melbourne, and then we have Fremantle, then Adelaide, then the Giants, then the Cats. So we've got a half draw. Like, it's not like the first game's obviously hard, but it's pretty. Like, you'd think, especially up until the Geelong game, which is round 8. Like, we could be 6 wins, 1 loss. Like, I think we've got a pretty good draw. Like, the Brisbane game will be very hard to win.
I don't think you guys are going to win.
I don't think. I mean, we just did a video on Brisbane.
Brisbane to 12 from 12 last year at home.
I think they should beat us.
It would be a mental win for you guys if you came out and you absolutely just tore them apart. They would. I don't know how. Could you imagine being 12 from 12 at your home ground for the last season? Someone comes in and beats you at your own.
Well, we've proved them our best. Like, we jumped them. Yeah. There was more, and trust me, there's going to be a lot of Carlton supporters there, because that final, there was more. It was more Carlton supporters. It was a very surreal experience. I expect us to drop that.
Yep.
But then playing Richmond, North, Fremantle, Adelaide, and then we have
Adelaide,
the Giants.
You against Adelaide though. I rate Adelaide.
No,
Adelaide's
in Melbourne. I would expect us to beat them.
Okay.
I think we've got them covered at home.
So what's your pass mark for the team?
I think...
Now, obviously, Johnny goes for Carlton, so this is purely, and it'll be the same.
You haven't figured
that one out?
I think natural would be to make a grand final. Naturally.
As a pass?
As a pass. Like, like in anything, you have to improve. So you don't go backwards. I think, though, if we're going to be... That's based on where we finished in the finals. I guess, though, making the top 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think is my ultimate pass mark. But as a Carlton supporter, we've got to make a granny, Josh. We've got the list now, and we've shown our best. Like, we beat the top 4. We've slaughtered Port. We beat Collingwood very easily. Apart from a few junk goals, we were up by 7 goals. And we beat Melbourne. And Brisbane, for 15, 20 minutes, we could have made it a lot uglier. So look at who we did beat.
Yeah. So I wanted to see Carlton Collingwood. I think everyone wanted to. That would have been an incredible grand final last year.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it still was an incredible grand final.
100%.
But it's kind of like the AFL wet dream to have 2 teams like that playing up against each other. Sorry for the terminology used there, guys, but
you're not wrong.
For the pass mark, for me, I didn't expect them to go that far.
Sure. Yeah.
Just based on purely their start of their season and how Carlton's performed over the last few years. So I didn't see them getting to the prelims or a granny. So I think if you guys made the prelims again, I think you've done bloody well. Like, I think that's an improvement. I think you guys really turned it on when you had to. But I think if you can finish within that top 4, I don't have them there from my prediction. But I think you're right. It has to be, if you're looking for improvement, you finish 5th. You turned it around, and realistically, you should be able to carry that momentum, that confidence into the next season. And I guess if you don't, then you haven't really passed what you set out to do. So organically, it has to be a top 4 finish and another prelim, at least appearance.
Yeah,
if it's not that, then you definitely haven't. But I don't think you should. I know you'd love to see your team getting the granny. If I was in your shoes, I'd do the same thing. So I'd be saying the same.
Oh, and I understand, and from a logical standpoint, did we just go on a hell of a run? And there is a bit of me, I guess,
like what the Doggies did that time, but they finished 8th. It's very different.
5th, 8th, like we went on an incredible run. No one was expecting it, and that's the thing. Dogs haven't won since.
No,
sometimes you only get one chance, and there is something about that Brisbane game where as a Carlton supporter, it was like, was that your chance? Was that actually our shot? Because I generally reckon if we beat Brisbane,
you would have won.
We could have beaten Collingwood on the day.
100%.
With 100,000 people, we match up well against them with our big bodies. It would have been, whether we won or not, who knows? But we definitely could have.
One for the ages.
Would have been one for the ages. Would have been the biggest game of all time.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. But yeah, I don't think for me it's not a granny.
Where do you not what our pass mark is, where do you actually think we'll finish?
I think in my predictions I had you guys around 8th or 7th or 8th.
Okay.
You definitely and that doesn't mean that you're not going to be at the prelims.
Sure.
Meaning I think you're the sort of squad that can finish 8th and get to the prelims comfortably and just maybe not take it out. But depends who you come up against. Like you said, if you're versing an interstate team, if you were playing at the G on a prelim, you would have won. But you weren't. So that was that. You guys are a very clutch sort of squad, and you play with a big amount of energy. You know, those teams that just...
Yeah.
That's prime example, watch the NFL for anyone who did today, and you see the crowds, it was horrible. But I just think the energy that the Carlton fans and the Carlton squad bring when they're playing with belief, they are unstoppable. They're very much like Collingwood in that sense. So they're the only 2 teams that probably could, if they're in a crappy position, fight it out and still take it home. So, I think they'll finish top 8. They'll definitely be in the top 8, without doubt.
Well, heads would roll if we didn't make the top 8. But
you'd be a bit worried.
I think going through all those sides, apart from Collingwood and Brisbane, I stack us up against Port Adelaide. I think we're better than Adelaide. I think we've passed Geelong.
I don't think Geelong are going to be, as everyone keeps saying, top 8 for this year. I don't think they're going to get there.
Well, we will do an interview. The Geelong is a very interesting question, which way we're going to know, but we will do them in a few days' time.
Awesome. Well, that wraps everything up. Thank you so much for watching. In the next one, we will be doing the Collingwood Football Club, the reigning premiers. So thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow in the next one.
Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. If you want us to mention anything or what your thoughts are, we'd love to hear.
Actually, where will they finish? Put it in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
See you later, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.